G'day guys, Mike King here, and it's that precious time of the day again for a bit of escape into science fiction, fantasy fiction. What a world to be in. I actually really do crave this time of the day. It takes me into an adventure and a whole universe, which is something that I've actually imagined. It's very, very cool. So without any further ado or chit-chat from the author, it is time for Lord of Water, Chapter 13, Parasite. The tone of the whole crew seemed to be drifting. Mila was now wrestling with High Sun. Max and Pei were arguing. Gary looked like he was in a haze. I just couldn't put my finger on it, and I couldn't move. I looked across to Gary, and he was looking back at the stars once again. He looked down and back across to me as tears started to stream down his face. The sky above us split, and a large alien vessel surrounded by crackling sparks of static electricity began to lower down above us, just to the port side. Mila stayed as she was, wrestling with High Sun, with Max and Pei completely ignoring Gary's call to arms. Gary yelled harder and harder, but only silence was coming from his mouth. He was sweating in a frantic panic. All I could do was stand there and watch as this vessel lowered in closer, its wings crackling with static arcs that stretched out across the horizon, thicker than any lightning bolts I had ever seen. The vessel settled right above us, where we had been trying to establish a drop zone to the crystal. A piercing hum started to build in volume until we all knelt in agony. Max dived over the edge of High Sun, with Pei screaming at the rail, watching her partner fall into the abyss of now black water. High Sun lost all momentum and began to slide back down towards the ocean's surface with dying pace. Everything was failing, and Gary was now hunched on his knees, wailing in agonized loss. Mila fell to the ground and was now unconscious. I tried to move but was unable. I just froze like a helpless, lost child. We hit the water's surface and our wonderful dorsal pilots were burst out in all directions. The first one was hit and the slicer sharks started taking them out one at a time, tearing them apart into a bloody mess and shredded frenzy. The dorsals had all lost their power and within seconds were torn apart by the slicer sharks. The vessel went silent and then, boom! A massive beam thrust vertically down into the ocean, spearing into the water and driving a parasitical vacuum into this only moments ago precious, clean planet. Mila stood and looked at me in lost despair. Her tears were streaming, and she looked at me with grief of which I have never seen before. She reached for me to take her, but just as our hands were about to touch, High Sun lifted and split in two, right between us both. We were thrown apart as High Sun now became a billion splinters, Mila and I falling apart and losing sight of each other forever. I opened my eyes and sat up straight, sweating and panic-stricken. It took a moment for me to realise that I was sitting on the side of our bed. I was covered in sweat and was shaking like I had never felt fear before. Mila was lying beside me in a calm and peaceful sleep. Outside was as calm as ever, and if anything, the pressure systems had all come to a lovely quiet null. I touched Mila's forehead and then stepped out onto the deck of High Sun. Max and Pei were the only two awake, and both smiled as I stepped closer toward them. I stood at the helm beside Max. Pei stepped across to make a warm glass of mill and barley. She handed it to me, and I enjoyed the warmth as it flowed down and into my stomach. The pictures of the dream slowly disappeared, and I gained my orientation once again. We are very close now. Today is the day, and if all runs smoothly, I will be able to make contact with a white sapphire crystal. Lord of Water, a nightmare novel. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. My name is Michael King, author of Lord of Water, and I'm having a great time. I hope you are too. See you on the next chapter.